Hello, this is David Austin with the BBC News. There have been intense clashes between police and pro-democracy protesters on the streets of Hong Kong. Thousands of people are taking part in the unauthorised rallies, many carrying umbrellas to symbolise the pro-democracy movement. Stephen McDonnell is in Hong Kong.
Police tried to stop this rally from happening by preventing activists from gathering in the first place, but to no avail. In an act of mass civil disobedience, crowds have marched through shopping districts and the main government precinct, where a water cannon truck was used to disperse them. Outside police headquarters, volleys of tear gas and rubber bullets were fired. All this is leading up to Tuesday's 70th anniversary of the Communist Party coming to power. Beijing wants it to be a celebration of the city's achievements, and activists are trying to use the occasion to push for democratic reforms.
The British Prime Minister Boris Johnson has told the BBC he still believes Britain can leave the European Union without a deal at the end of next month, despite parliamentary legislation designed to thwart that outcome. He wouldn't be drawn on how this might be done. Mr Johnson rejected accusations that his language over Brexit had fed divisions, saying he'd been a model of restraint. Rob Watson is our political correspondent.
We have a clear strategy from the Prime Minister now. You might think it was wise, unwise, likely to succeed or not, but it's a populist strategy. It's taken from the Donald Trump playbook and the populist playbook. You never apologise, never go back, and it's quite clear his tactic is to try to unite the 52% of people who voted leave. Maybe that'll have to come in another referendum or another general election, but that's clearly his tactic.
Austrians are voting in an early general election after a scandal in May caused the previous coalition to collapse. The former head of the junior coalition partner, the far-right Freedom Party, had to resign after he was caught in a video sting bringing down the government led by the conservative Sebastian Kurz. Mr Kurz's People's Party is favourite to win the most votes this time, but falls short of an outright majority. Here's what this Austrian voter would like to see happen.
Ich wünsche mir eine möglichst stabile Regierung. Das stabilste wäre wahrscheinlich eine.
I'm hoping for a stable government. The most stable one would be a grand coalition. But this is unlikely now for Austria, as these two parties aren't big parties anymore.
The Indian Home Minister Amit Shah has dismissed mounting criticism over the government's decision to suspend communication in Indian-administered Kashmir since the beginning of August. Mr Shah said lack of telephone connection was not a human rights violation. Rights groups argue that access to communication is a basic right. The government suspended mobile and internet connection after it revoked the special status of Indian Kashmir. World News from the BBC. The Indian government has banned the export of all varieties of onions after domestic prices hit a record high. In several cities, the price of the vegetable has doubled in recent weeks to more than $1 per kilogram. The rise is due to a shortage of supply from key onion-producing states, where heavy monsoon rains resulted in crop damage. India is the world's second-largest producer of onions after China. Police in Saudi Arabia say the long-time personal bodyguard of King Salman was shot dead last night in an exchange of fire following a personal dispute. Major General Abdulaziz Al-Faghem was visiting a friend's house in Jeddah when there was a row with another friend present, who then left the room, came back with a gun and opened fire. 5 security officers were also wounded. Hundreds of people have gathered in the Lebanese capital Beirut to protest about the economic crisis in the country. The Lebanese parliament adopted an austerity budget in July to reduce the public deficit, which has risen more than 150% of GDP, one of the highest in the world. The organisers of the World Athletics Championships in Qatar have delayed the start time of an endurance race following athletes' complaints about heat and humidity. The women's 20-kilometre walk will now start at midnight. From Doha, Alex Capstick reports.
Qatar was a controversial choice for track and field's global showpiece, and the early stages have proved why. The stadium is air-conditioned, but there is no respite from the suffocating heat for those competing on the road. Organisers tried to help them by starting the endurance races at midnight, but there were mass dropouts in Friday's women's marathon, and the silver medalist in Saturday's 50-kilometre walk, João Vieira of Portugal, described the experience as hell. Poor attendances have also been a feature. The stadium was half empty for the men's 100 metres final, which is a highlight of the championships.
And that's the latest BBC News.